behalf of the Economic and Commercial Commission of the Village of Tinley Park, I welcome you to the 2023 Business Breakfast. My name is Jay Walsh. I'm a Tinley Park resident, business owner, and chairman of the Economic Commercial Commission. Before we get started, could I please get a round of applause for all the great staff here at the Convention Center? Today, nearly 1,500 businesses are turning plans into profits here in Tinley Park. With our tremendous business climate, we know that the Village of Tinley Park will be an effective partner in helping grow your business, as well as new business that comes to our community. Thanks to the leadership of Mayor Glotz and the entire Village Board, the strategic planning of the Economic Commercial Commission, Tinley Park is still the first and only community in Illinois with the International Accreditation in Economic Development. This accreditation is very prestigious because it tells business prospects that Tinley Park is an economic focused community that has their best interest in mind. With evident pride and pro-business leadership, Tinley Park remains a model of economic development excellence with financial strength and business diversity that is unmatched in the Midwest. Along with the business community, I'd also like to recognize the Tinley Park Chamber of Commerce and its Executive Director, Mary Kay Campbell, as well as the Chamber President, Don Macaluso, and the entire Board of Directors. Go ahead. The Chamber of Commerce is an advocate for the growth and prosperity of our business district. They are committed to bringing innovative information and opportunities to businesses and the community to create a strong economy. The Chamber stands equipped with programs to build business stronger month by month and throughout the year. So next, it's my great pleasure to yield the stage to Mayor Michael Glotz, who will present a State of the Village report. Mayor Glotz was elected in April 2021, previously serving as a trustee and chairing the Public Works and Community Development Committees. He and his wife, Christy, have lived in Tinley Park since 1994 and have 2 children, Katie and Kyle. He and his family attend Parkview Christian Church. Mayor Glotz is a member of the Local 150 operating engineer and was a union steward for Local 150. Through many years in the field, his experience has been utilized by his company to manage the large projects and assist in sales due to the positive relationships he has developed with clients. Mayor Glotz has volunteered as a girls softball and baseball coach for the Tinley Park Bulldogs organization and the Southwest Raiders travel baseball team in Orland Hills. Recently, he was appointed to the Together We Cope Board of Directors and is recognized for volunteering throughout the community. Mayor Glotz.
Thank you, Jay. I want to thank everyone for taking the time to be with us this morning. We have a lot of great information to share with you, so grab a cup of coffee and settle in. Right off the bat, I'd like to thank our great staff here at Tinley Park Convention Center. The service and the food is excellent, and I thank them for helping us bring this event to you each and every year. I'd also like to thank our village staff for all their assistance, not only with this breakfast, but their hard work all year long. Their dedication and their talent greatly contributes to the fact that Tinley Park is poised for exponential growth in the coming years. At the board level, we've always taken a pro-business approach to governing because we know that the business community is the very heart and soul of Tinley Park. Businesses provide the economic fuel needed to sustain our growth and ensure Tinley Park remains successful long into our future. I'm excited to talk to you this morning about just a few of the key projects and developments happening around town that are signs of that growth. A community can be measured in part by how healthy its business climate is. And in that regard, we're doing very well. Since we last met, Tinley Park has seen a lot of great businesses open their doors, including Papa's Gourmet Popcorn, Smoothie King, Floor and Decor, Ascend Cannabis, Flipside Brewing, not one but 2 new Starbucks, Eiffel Waffle, Crumble Cookie, and Hillgrove Tap. Another new business of note is Vinnie's Clam Bar, which is part of the Scott Harris Hospitality Group that owns and operates the Francesca's restaurants. It's going into the former Tin Fish location and is slated to open this summer. More signs of growth include Springford Hall at 172nd and Oak Park Avenue, which many of you know used to be Cardinal Fitness. I'm pleased to report that the entire building is now 100% occupied. We've been working on getting that building filled for quite some time now, starting in 2019 when our board made our first initial run. So it's great indication of the economic health of the village that businesses are deciding to choose Tinley Park. There are several projects that are in development now that will also be a great boon to Tinley Park once completed. You've probably driven past the old Super Kmart building at 163rd in Harlem and noticed a lot of construction vehicles in activity. That's because it's in the process of becoming a brand new Pete's Fresh Market store. Phase 2 work is ongoing and coming along very nicely. The east addition of the warehouse is complete, as are the loading docks. The building foundation and site work for the adjacent supermarket store is underway. When it is finished, Pete's will be a welcome addition to the Tinley Park community, and we all have Eugene here from Pete's to thank for keeping this going on schedule. Also in that area is a new Brixmore development at Tinley Park Plaza Shopping Center on the east side of Harlem, just south of 159th Street. Phase 1 of the redevelopment is complete, and Phase 2 will be starting soon. We'll definitely have more information on that for you as the project unfolds. Businesses that already have a presence here in our town are deciding to expand. Atlas Putty, for example, is another existing business that's in the process of expanding their available space by constructing an 87,000 square foot warehouse building, which will allow them to continue to grow while keeping their production and warehouse facilities near each other in Tinley Park. Bang & Gavel is another great example for us. They began operating the outdoor Vogue Beer Garden last year and are close to opening the adjacent brewery, restaurant, outdoor patio, and residence in the historic Vogue building near Oak Park Avenue train station. The brewing production will occur on ground floor, with a restaurant on the second floor that also is slated to open this summer. Another key development includes the Tinley Park Business Center at Harlem Avenue in Vollmer. It'll be constructed on about 111 acres with approximately 1.3 million square feet of floor space over 3 industrial buildings. While we're on top of large-scale projects, we also have the new Loyola Medicine Southwest Ambulatory Care Center. It's a 2-story, 72,000 square foot medical building on a 25.75 acre lot at the southeast corner of LaGrange Road and 179th Street. The outpatient medical clinic is scheduled for final inspections this month, so we should be seeing that site open and operational very soon after that. And if anyone that knows our community development and Mike Coleman, please thank him over there because he's the one that's keeping this project going and on schedule. So thank you, Mike, for all your hard work. I'm also excited to announce the gas and wash that will be coming to 183rd and LaGrange. Right now, we're working with them to move forward with zoning approvals and entitlements. This will be gas and wash 3rd location in Tinley Park. Another great addition to Tinley Park is the Oak Ridge residential subdivision near Ridgeland and Oak Park Avenue, or Oak Forest Avenue, at the former Panduit headquarters property. Construction is moving along nicely, including installation of site utilities, road construction, site grading, and more. New townhomes should begin construction shortly. Perhaps the biggest project happening right now is the Harmony Square. It's a new multi-use plaza that will be located at the corner of Oak Park Avenue and North Street in downtown Tinley Park. I'm pleased to report that the village has recently acquired the final parcel of property needed to move forward with construction. Harmony Square is a key component of the village's branding initiative that makes music the focus of Tinley Park. This downtown public space will be programmed at least 250 days of the year and will be a destination for residents and regional visitors alike. Another large-scale project is the 280-acre Tinley Park Mental Health Center site near the corner of 183rd and Harlem Avenue. We've been in negotiations with the state of Illinois, which owns the property, for several years now. We have a vision for the site that will remediate all environmental hazards and provide all residents of Tinley Park a development that will last for generations. We have the funding mechanisms, we have the staff, and we have the zoning. As many of you know, our fire department responded to a fire there this past weekend in Pine Hall. It was a pretty substantial blaze that we're able to get under control with the aid from 56 firefighters from several of our neighboring fire departments, including Crestwood, Country Club Hills, Flossmoor, Frankfort, Homer Glen, Midlothian, Oak Forest, Orland Park Fire District, Posen, and Richton Park. Incidents like these provide us a sobering reminder of why this site needs to be cleaned up and developed, and why the Village of Tinley Park is the best organization to do it. Tinley Park also welcomed the new Holiday Inn this November, bringing our total number of hotels in town to 11. The Holiday Inn, which is located at 183rd and North Creek Drive, is a full-service hotel with 108 rooms, an indoor pool, a fitness room, meeting rooms, an outdoor patio, a dining area, and a hotel lounge with a bar. And that's not all on the hotel front. We actually have 2 more Marriotts coming, a Residence Inn and a Courtyard, both at the southeast corner of 183rd and White Eagle Drive. These are in permitting review now and expected to begin work in the next few months. Our village infrastructure is very important. On that end, there's quite a lot being done this year. The village is making sidewalk improvements to the east side of Oak Park Avenue, including storm sewer fixes, fire hydrant relocations, parkway restorations, new pavement markings, streetlight installations, and other incidental improvements. We're also finalizing coordination with the Cook County Department of Transportation to reconstruct 175th Street. The project is expected to go out for bid in August, with construction slated for next spring. Another big infrastructure project is the reconstruction of 80th Avenue from Greenway Boulevard to Timber Drive. Right now, that stretch of the road is under Cook County's jurisdiction. Once this project is completed, the village will take ownership of 80th Avenue from 191st Street to the south side of 183rd Street. Project highlights include upgrades to the bridge over I-80 with aesthetic improvements, sidewalks, a bike path, street lighting, landscape improvements, decorative fencing, a new access road to the Public Works from the police department entrance at 183rd Street, new traffic signals, dual turn lanes at 183rd and 80th Avenue. Other key infrastructure projects this year include the annual pavement management project that will repair 4.7 miles of our roadways, lift station upgrades, and installation of a pressure booster to fix lower water pressure in the west section of our village. These infrastructure improvements benefit businesses and customers greatly. Many thanks to our hard-working Public Works Department for going the extra mile to ensure Tinley Park has the groundwork it needs to succeed. The village wants to make a construction of new commercial, industrial mixed-use, or remodeling project as simple as possible, which is why we've created a newer streamlined application form on the village website. Businesses can simply submit their plans and commercial industrial building permit applications to start the permit process at the tinleypark.org/building. Online payments are expected in the near future as well. Before I give the microphone over to our next speaker, let me fill you in on a few more things that are going on in our village. We'll be making a modification to our parking times at the Oak Park Avenue train station. As of May 1st, lots will be open to free parking after 10 a.m. on weekdays and all day on Saturdays and Sundays. New signage is being installed to make the parking locations and availability clear to visitors and our customers. We're also stepping up our marketing efforts this year with several exciting new projects. As many of you know, the village redirects a portion of the accommodation tax towards our tourism marketing, which helps us promote the Life Amplified brand and helping us get the word out to non-residents about Tinley Park and all its wonderful amenities. The marketing department will be rolling out the village's brand new Visit TinleyPark.com tourism website this month. The new website has been designed specifically to promote Tinley Park as a tourist destination and focuses on all the things that make us a great place to visit. We're also in the final stages of planning a brand new electronic newsletter that will go out to visitors, touting all that Tinley Park has to offer us. With all these efforts working in tandem, we're sure to succeed in making our town the go-to place for anyone looking for a great town, filled with fun events, one-of-a-kind businesses, wonderful parks, and the best music in the entire Southland. The village is committed to ensuring the long-term viability of our community, assisting with business startups and supporting the tourism. One of the key goals is to develop a signature downtown where residents can live, shop, dine, and be entertained. To support this, the village offers the Downtown Tinley Grant Program designed to encourage downtown Tinley business and property owners to invest and improve in their respective properties. To stay engaged with the village and get great news that's tailor-made just for Tinley Park businesses, you can subscribe to our Noteworthy News email newsletter by visiting Village's website at tinleypark.org/stay informed. Thanks again for attending this morning. The Tinley Park Village Board will continue to put businesses first because your success is also our success. So thank you.
So again, thank you, Mayor Glotz. Next, I'd like to invite Dan Gibbons. He's the CEO of City Club of Chicago to the podium to share his insights on how the economic and political environment can be improved throughout collaboration and civic engagement. A little bit about Dan, and the City Club. Founded in 1903, City Club of Chicago is the longest running civic forum in Chicago. The organization attracts those interested in civic responsibility, public issues, open political debate, and networking opportunities. The City Club of Chicago advances open discussion of public policy and strengthens the region by convening civic-minded individuals in the public, private, and nonprofit sectors. Dan is the first CEO of the City Club of Chicago. He's a lifelong Chicagoan. Dan is respected as a civic leader. He's very philanthropic, and his mission is to reimagine City Club for the next century with a focus on increasing engagement and partnerships. Dan has 20 years of experience in the intersection of Chicago public and private sectors, most recently as the Director of Economic Development for Clayco, which is a real estate, architecture, engineering, design build, and construction firm based in Chicago. He is a strategic leader with extensive experience gained from working alongside Richard M. Daley, Chicago's longest-serving mayor, as assistant to the mayor for special projects, then as the principal of the True Partners, Daley's global investment and advisory firm. He is the founding and co-chair of the Navy Pier Association Board, a board member of the Chicago Fire Department Foundation, the Ireland Fund Chicago Committee, the Irish Fellowship Club of Chicago, and the Magnificent Mile Association. I'm surprised he has 5 minutes to be here, so please help me in joining Dan Gibbons.
Quite an intro. I didn't know all of that about myself. Half that I think was made up. Thank you, Jay. And thank you, Mayor. Doing incredible things here. So I appreciate the invitation to join you today. I love Tinley Park. Actually, would come to the Ashford House every year. For my grandma would host Easter breakfast there. So about 40 or 50 of us would turn your town upside down every year around Easter. I grew up just a few miles north of here in the Beverly neighborhood. And my dad owned a liquor store there for most of my life. Some of you may recognize it. It's called Town Liquor, right by Fox's Pizza. And I understood quite a bit about what it takes to actually run a business after 38 years of him owning that store in Chicago. And while I didn't follow him into the retail life, I have spent most of my career, as Jay mentioned, at that intersection of sort of business and government, and now serve as a City Club CEO, where I'm hopeful to keep moving these partnerships forward. But I'm not an economist. I know last year you had Lawrence Masal here. Great man, great civic leader. We lost Lawrence a couple of months ago suddenly. Brilliant guy who I believe shared with you all sorts of facts and figures, and some of it dire, some of it forward-thinking and positive. I don't have all those facts and figures. I'm no Lawrence Masal. What I do know, though, is I don't know what the future holds. I do know it's going to be again and again in Chicago and in the region. We have proven to come back together and face all these challenges when we do come together. You know, whether it's government, union leaders, philanthropic, civic leaders. When we do come together, it works, and that's been proven time and time again. When I was with Mayor Daley years ago, he put together a group called the Metropolitan Mayor's Caucus, and we actually worked very closely. It was Mayor Zabrocki at the time here in Tinley Park, but all the different mayors from around the Chicagoland area came together, and they used to compete, right, or thought they were competing, but I think they all came together to realize that as one region, we can move together, go down to the state and get more funding for the region. We could do things together and go farther with U.S., at the Congress and the President than everyone alone. And that was a great lesson that I learned from Mayor Daley. And it's something that's been going for at least 20 years now. And while things look different certainly than they did 20 years ago, the spirit of that collaboration is something that I think continues and will continue. It's going to look very different, though. I mean, as some of you may have heard, we have a new administration coming on board in Chicago, and I'm really encouraged by that. At City Club, we had the opportunity to speak with every one of the mayoral candidates, and I actually got to interview each one of them, in front of our civic leaders, and then so I was able to do that for each one and fair and unbiased. So I got to learn quite a bit about each one of them, and have met with Mayor-elect Johnson a couple of times since he's been elected, and like I said, I'm very encouraged, and I think you're going to see him in the region once he gets his feet planted a little bit more in the city. He gets it. He understands that businesses need to be at the table, and in the civic leadership, he's listening, and I think he's going to be great for this region. I do know that being mayor is the hardest job in the world, just from serving for so long with Mayor Daley. So Mayor Glatz, thanks for everything that you're doing here. But it's not just the mayor or the trustees or the elected officials. They do that all so hard. They work so hard to move these villages and cities and counties forward. But it needs to be the business leaders coming to the table as well. What we're doing at City Club is encouraging just that. Bringing the discussion, elevating the discussion, and getting people together to talk. Tables just like this, where we actually talk with each other about solutions, bringing students into the mix, with some new ideas about technology and how things can change and improve moving forward. We've had a whole host of speakers. We had the U.S. Surgeon General talking about mental health. Now, the City Club's 120 years old. We didn't talk about mental health. There are probably a whole lot of men rolling over in their graves that are hearing City Club talk about mental health in teenagers. But it was really incredible to see the Surgeon General of the U.S. come to Chicago to highlight after-school matters and talk about mental health. We had a panel on cannabis. Again, who would have thought the 120-year-old Chicago institution would be talking about marijuana? We made sure to have a lot of extra lemon cookies at the tables, and it went really well. And there's so much more to discuss. We had the ambassador from Ireland to the U.S. here, which was really neat to be able to talk about the business connections. Now there's so many of those, especially on the south side, between Ireland and Chicago and the Chicago region. And we're just going to continue that. We've got one next week. Obviously, there's quite a bit going on with regards to public safety and violence, and that's something that is being addressed, but it needs to be addressed collaboratively with everybody at that table. And we're going to have Arnie Duncan and Jim Crown and a couple others come together and talk about how, again, the business community is stepping up to work with the administration, the police department, and nonprofits in providing opportunities so that it's not just an us versus them situation in the city, which I know does spread out into the rest of the area. So we've got lots to discuss, and the City Club brings this. You're welcome anytime. The City Club brings these folks together because everyone is in their day jobs. You're doing your business. You're governing. You're out, patrolling and keeping everybody safe. When you all come together and you share your ideas, the teachers, you put a teacher next to a police officer, next to a business owner, and maybe an elected official, they're going to come up with solutions, and put a student there too. They're going to come up with solutions that any one of those folks would not have necessarily come up with on their own. And I've seen it happen again and again and again, and I'm really encouraged by it. And there's a lot we're going to have to address soon, post-pandemic. How's this return to the workspace going to work? That's a huge issue. Artificial intelligence, we're hearing about it every day now. There are going to be a lot of benefits though with the technology and artificial intelligence. It's going to change again the workplace, some for better, some for worse. I was leading a visionary session. How do we reimagine North Michigan Avenue for the future? Not the future next year, but how about 5 years? They're going to be flying cars. I'm pretty certain of it, on Michigan Avenue. So you may not need Michigan Avenue. You may have cars going up to 30th floor of buildings. Maybe not 5, maybe 10 years, but this stuff is happening, and it's happening. It needs to be imagined, and business leaders are on the ground understanding that this stuff happens. And if you understand that the policies that the government, from the local all the way up to the federal, that those policies affect your businesses and your ability to hire and employ people. My message is simple. Things work when all of these entities come together, and it doesn't matter, public, private, left, right. We're at a time now. Let's get away from those divisions and try to come back together, talk to each other. Small businesses in the Amazons, everybody can survive. Companies, philanthropic leaders, labor. We're all in this together. We have a ways to go to get back. But the politicians, the civic leaders, they need to listen to their bosses, the taxpayers and the businesses, and they're doing that. You're seeing that here in Tinley Park. I was just reading about the benches on the avenue. There are so many different things, and they don't need to be gigantic public-private partnerships, like a Millennium Park or something, the benches on the avenue. Those are simple things where people want to go out and see a business and enjoy artwork and getting artists and children and others involved. There's your new mental health center. We're gonna need more of that. That is gonna drive homelessness, hopefully down in the whole area, and hopefully also help with the violence issues. So this all comes together, and it really is important to do that, come together, step up, and I don't think anyone can do that alone. So I really would encourage you to get on a board, create a city club. I know, or have more meetings like this, where people come together in person, please. Even if welcome new businesses, and Mayor, your policies to make the permitting easier. It's so important. How difficult, why would you put up barriers when businesses they want to open and do something here? Welcome them, and even if they don't look like all the traditional businesses that have historically been here, there's going to be change. I think we need to move with that. So with that, I do welcome you. Like I said, City Club, we're 120 years old, but we were making a whole host of changes. We're going to grow it to a more regional approach, and I invite all of you to come and join us. We have very interesting speakers lined up, and many more to come. I look forward to having you there at City Club, and I look forward, of course, coming back to Tinley Park and seeing your continued growth here, and congratulations on that growth to date to all of you. And please come visit us at City Club. I'll stick around, and if there's any way that you believe I can be helpful, or that City Club can be helpful to you in Tinley Park moving forward, I'm all ears and happy to help bring some of these ideas to fruition. So thank you again for having me this morning, and best of luck in all of your continued success. Thanks.
Well, to just comment on one thing, public-private, that's what a lot of us are here today. That's how we got to where we are today. And that's going to be more important going forward, everybody working together so we can move this thing forward. Because I tell clients all the time, change is inevitable, it's coming, it's going to happen. My dad fought against it, but it doesn't matter, it's going to keep coming anyway. So with that being said, our next speaker of the morning is John Grueling, CEO of JEG 360 LLC. Who is going to share a little bit about economic indicators and key characteristics of the future economy that businesses need to be aware of. JEG 360 is an economic development consulting firm specializing in community economic development planning, nonprofit organization management and resource development, and public-private collaborative partnerships. I have to work on that. The firm also assists private businesses with community assessment and incentive negotiations for development projects. John most recently served as president and CEO of the Will County Center for Economic Development, a position he held for 21 years. During his tenure with the CED, Will County was one of the fastest growing counties in the Midwest, and today is the largest inland container port in North America. John has held positions with the City of Edwardsville, Central Illinois Public Service Company, Chamber of Commerce and Economic Development of Bloomington-Normal area, Colorado Office of Business Development, Southeast Denver Douglas County Economic Development Council, Greensboro Area Chamber of Commerce, and Intermountain RKH, which I don't know what that one is. Consulting, all right. So, John is a graduate of Illinois State University with a bachelor's degree in philosophy and a master's of science in city and regional planning from Southern Illinois University at Edwardsville. In 2016, John received an honorary doctorate degree from Lewis University for his economic development accomplishments in Will County. He is also a graduate of the Economic Development Institute. So again, please join me in welcoming John Grueling.
Thanks for that kind introduction. It's a pleasure to be here this morning. I appreciate you allowing me to bend your ear for a few moments and hear some things that I have to say. Not all that important maybe, but hopefully you'll get some good information this morning and learn a few things. I want to first of all thank Mayor Glotz and congratulate the mayor on his continued economic development successes here in Tinley Park. Tinley Park is truly a beacon in business development, and for years has been known as a extremely business-friendly municipality, not just in Illinois but throughout the Midwest. And I think it's a testament to all of the leadership in Will County, both the public, private sector, the union leadership, the service organizations, all play a very important part in making Tinley a very significant business center here in the Midwest. I appreciate the kind introduction. It sounds like I'm a job hopper. Not necessarily true. I did spend at least 2 years in each of those positions. And my last tour of duty, 21 years with the Center for Economic Development, proves that I can actually sit still for a while, much to my wife's surprise. So I'd like to start out by something I never thought I would be able to announce before. The federal government has announced that as of May 11th, a week from today, 2023, the COVID-19 pandemic will be officially over. Now, I knew the federal government was very powerful, but to think that they could actually say that this is the end of a pandemic, that's pretty amazing. I'm not sure if that's President Biden's doing or some of the leadership that serves with him. But I think it's more of a bureaucratic approach to basically telling all of us there's no more free money. Because that's exactly what's happened. If you haven't noticed in the last 6 months, all of the giveaways from Washington as a result of the COVID pandemic and the crisis it created in our communities, there was a pipe full of money coming to businesses and government and just about anybody that needed it. Some people got it that didn't need it, and now they're in trouble. But the reality is that money is gone. And so I think it's not so much the end of the pandemic from a public health standpoint as it is from the cost of doing business for government. Now, it's not to say that something else isn't going to come along and create another demand or need for public bailouts and support, but hopefully it won't happen as dramatically or as quickly as the pandemic did, but it could happen. So basically, congratulations, everyone. You and your business survived the pandemic. COVID's over. Congratulations if you are a small business entity. And by the way, the definition is for the federal government, the small business is any company that has 500 employees or less. So that certainly includes most every company certainly represented here this morning. And the fact of the matter is, there's a sentiment out there that I think needs to be captured, and the U.S. Chamber of Commerce and MetLife does a survey of small businesses every quarter and basically takes the temperature, if you will, of small businesses regarding the economy. And so the results for 2023 first quarter pegs the index, the quality of business index at 60. So 0 being really lousy, 100 being awesome, 60 doesn't sound too bad. But it's actually a bit of a decline from fourth quarter of 2022. Again, not a lot, only a point or two. But if you look at a graph showing on the left-hand side that 71.7 was the onset of the pandemic. And 71.7 for this particular index is about as high as you're going to get among small business people. Fell off the cliff in March of 20, and then continued to sort of climb out of this basin called the business pandemic. And it rose to a high in the second quarter of 22 to 66.8, and now we're slipping again. There's a number of factors that are causing that, not the least of which are these things that you see on the screen here. This is the slide I call "What Keeps Business Owners Up at Night?" And the Small Business Index survey indicated that of all small businesses that were surveyed, 54% of these businesses feel that inflation costs are the biggest challenge that small business people have today. No surprise, but as you can see, that continues to increase and leveling out a little bit. And I think as inflation backs off, that particular measurement will also back off. Other things of primary concern, revenue flow for small business is cash is king. 22% feel that's their most important problem. Supply chain issues continue to dog the economy. Interest rates, no surprise there. I was a little surprised employee retention only ranked among 11% of businesses as a major issue. I keep hearing a lot from businesses about not only being able to hire new people, but to keep new people. And I think business retention moving forward will continue to be an issue, especially for small businesses. And for the first time in this measurement, COVID fell below 10% as the #1 concern. So again, a lot of small businesses, I believe, are thinking like the federal government that maybe we've got this behind us. Hopefully that's the case. So what about employment? Did somebody say recession? First of all, is the recession looming? Is it out there? Certainly some businesses are feeling it, and I think that there's a signifier out there in the financial institutions that are leaning into this reality that we're probably going to be seeing a pretty strong softening of the economy. I hate to use the word recession, but I think that's definitely something we're looking at. Last month, employers in March added 236,000 jobs, nice big number, but the average over the last 3 months has been 334,000 jobs. So again, a softening in terms of a new job creation. Unemployment, this is a shocker for all economists, and I'm not one like Dan, but the reality is we're still at 3.5%. A little bit up in March to 3.6%. That's a historically low national unemployment rate, and at least for a 50-year period. Illinois is about a point ahead of that, and that has been the case throughout the recession. Illinois does okay, but I would argue, and I think other business leaders and pundits would argue, that we're still hitting below our weight as a major economic center here in the Midwest and the country. The labor force added 500,000 people to the economy. In other words, a lot of people on the sidelines, for whatever reason, came back into play. And this whole concept of young people not wanting to work, the numbers don't really reflect that recently. Of Americans aged 25 to 54, what economists refer to as the prime earnings and working age, that particular category of a worker is close to 80.7% of that population is back in the workforce, highest since 2001. So who says they don't want to work? I think living on mom's couch in the basement is no longer an option for a lot of reasons, especially mom. And the Labor Department also recorded a continued increase year over year of hourly earnings. If you're making payroll every day, you know this is a reality. Not as much gain as it had in the prior 24 months, 4.2%, but not bad. Certainly if you're taking home a paycheck weekly and wanting to take care of your family and your lifestyle. And the question about the Fed's reaction to a slower, a calming, if you will, of inflation, we'll learn later today. We're pretty sure the Fed's going to jack the interest rate, the prime interest rate again, whether it's a quarter point or a half a point, we'll see. But I think we'll continue to question how far will the Fed push this interest rate before they finally say, okay, we've stopped growth to the point where now we need to back off of that. I don't think we're going to see any decline in prime interest rate anytime soon, but hopefully that the increase will not be as dramatic as it has been. As far as Illinois is concerned, Unemployment rate in Illinois is 4.5%. That's down from 4.6% in February, so it's 4.5% in March. And again, compared to 3.5% nationally, we're still struggling here in the state. Non-farm payroll jobs increased by just shy of 8,000 and up from or down from 10,000 in February. And now we've got 6.1 million jobs in Illinois. Not a bad number, but still less than pre-pandemic numbers by about 26,000. Big gainers in Illinois jobs in March: professional and business services, 3,000. I think we're continuing to see small business, entrepreneurial business formation, and a lot of them are in that service sector. We've created millions of new companies during the pandemic in this country, and Illinois is no slouch in that particular category. You know, people talk about pandemic as a crisis, but you know what? Innovation loves crisis. And I think that we're seeing an extremely innovative time for business and industry and government today. And I think some of the things that we're going to be looking at here in the next few years are indicators that technology use and application and artificial intelligence have become extremely important in individual and business success in this country. Leisure and hospitality finally starting to get legs again in this state, 3,000 new jobs. Government continues to add people. Manufacturing, again, we're slouching. We've pummeled our manufacturing sector in this state for years, and we continue to fail to back off the gas on that, and I think we're going to have to take a hard look at our business environment, regulatory, tax-wise, et cetera, in terms of our manufacturing capture, both retention and new jobs. And then transportation and utilities off a little bit. So those are some numbers that may or may not be of interest to you. And I just want to close out with some discussion about some trends that I'm seeing and others are seeing in our business life, in our human life. So one of the things that is no surprise to anybody in this room is the fact that employees continue to seek out flexibility in their workplace options, meaning I want to work from home whenever I want to. And for a long time, that has been pretty much the case. Businesses had to close because of the pandemic, so it was easy to just tell everybody, well, you still have a job and you still are expected to produce something, but you're going to do it from your kitchen table or your basement or your bedroom. And at first that was kind of uncomfortable. I don't know about you, but when I had to send everybody home from the office and start working out of my house to run a business, it was like, this doesn't feel good. But then we all started using Zoom, and you know, it just became sort of the way of the world. And I think a lot of us, younger workers especially, really appreciated the flexibility that they saw in this new business environment. And as companies continue to look at how are we going to be high producers and money makers and keep our employees, we're going to have to keep our employees happy. And it's not just a bigger paycheck or benefits. It also is this concept of where am I going to allow them to work. Now, this is from a community standpoint, this probably doesn't have too much effect on business operations except in one big area, and that's commercial real estate. As offices continue to vacate and big companies are shedding major square footages of office space, all of a sudden the commercial real estate industry doesn't look too good. When you see big campuses in the north and northwest suburbs being converted from headquarters operations to distribution parks, multimodal centers, it really is a pretty strong indicator that this particular dog isn't going to hunt anymore. That office space is just changing and will continue to change. In terms of our online business appetite, e-commerce continues to grow post-pandemic. In fact, in 2023, economists are predicting $6.3 trillion worth of business is going to be done online. That represents, on a retail basis, about 20%, 22% of worldwide retail sales. Now, that doesn't sound like it's eating up too much of bricks and mortar retail. But if you only go back 4 or 5 years, that number, e-commerce represented less than 10% of the total retail sales, and 22%, the e-commerce leaders are looking at 78% of the market for us yet to gather. And I think that's going to be a big challenge for all kinds of retailers. One of the biggest challenges during the pandemic, and now carried into post-pandemic, is e-commerce delivery networks in that last mile. As you're sitting at your kitchen table ordering food, office supplies, things that you typically would go out to a store to buy, you are now buying them online. And not only is that convenient, but you're seeing these things delivered within a day. And more people are expecting same-day delivery. And Amazon is starting to look at how can they make more of their customers happy on a day-by-day basis. One of the solutions there will be drone deliveries. We'll be looking at autonomous vehicles dropping off packages at your front door, and maybe flying cars. I'm not sure, Dan, but I think we're going to see flying warehouses where drones will shoot out and bring you that pencil that you ordered 15 minutes ago. Kind of hard to believe, but I think that's a potential reality. If you have not heard of this thing called Chat GBT, you better look at it. Innovative, generative artificial intelligence is here, and it's scary and it's revolutionary. It has a real science fiction-y feel to it. And I think people in the artificial intelligence business had no idea that today we were going to be seeing the utilization of artificial intelligence online. Just do your own research on this. I can tell you that it is transformative, and it's going to provide some real challenges for the workplace, both good and bad. 5G, it's finally coming online in a big way, and it's improving the movement of data throughout our economy. You're going to be able to do more and more with your handheld computer, and that just goes without saying, especially with cloud utilization. If you're in business trying to sell stuff and you're not selling online through some sort of social media app, shame on you. You better get there. More and more business. I love pulling up the sports page on my virtual email every day. And as I'm reading about how the Cubs lost or the White Sox won, I get a picture of a running shoe that I looked at 3 weeks ago online, and they were trying to sell it to me again. And not only is it in my size, it's in my color. And it's how did they do that? Well, that's the marketing of the future. Building an immersive consumer experience is going to really push retail to the limits of technology. You can now buy a household full of furniture, a house full of furniture online without leaving your kitchen table. You can plug in your floor plan, you can put a sofa here and a table here and a couch there, and all of it's online. IKEA is a big leader in this, and we're seeing other major household companies doing this immersive consumer experience. Everything has to be fun now when we buy stuff. It has to feel like it's special and that I'm special as a consumer, and that's where this is going. So if you're in the business of selling stuff, make sure your customer is feeling special by doing business with you. And a lot of that can be done with technology, but I still think the human touch has a lot to do with business success. And then finally, companies focus on sustainability. We hear a lot about sustainability and the climate change and this and that. But business is finally understanding that they need to take better care of the environment. We need to take better care of the environment. Employees are demanding that from their corporations. Boards of directors and shareholders are demanding it. And I think this is not going to change, and that's a good thing. I think we have pushed Mother Earth about as far as we can, and unless we really want to live in a world that looks post-apocalyptic, not just pandemic, we better get this together. So thanks for your time this morning. I hope this was some use to you. Thank you.
So thank you, John. Before we depart, I'd like to bring up one last person. Please help me welcome Mr. Seth Conkey from the Loyola Medical Group, who is going to say a few words about the experience working with the village, and a great example of how the partnership between the business community and village is yielding positive results. So please help me welcome Seth.
Thank you, everybody. I'll keep this short and sweet. I know it's been a long presentation so far this morning, but honored to be here. Glad to be here on behalf of Loyola Medicine. My name is Seth Conkey, Regional Director for Illinois and Indiana. We had a great experience working with the village staff for our development a couple years ago when we decided to move into the southwest suburb region, which is a core mission for us, is getting critical care closer to the communities, closer to people's homes. We met with a bunch of different municipalities and looking for a good partner, to make this commitment for a new facility in the southwest suburbs. And we found that partner in the village of Tinley Park. And you'll hear this common thread through Loyola Medicine of this partnership. We do it on the clinical side with our patients to make sure, that they're part of their healing plan. On the care delivery model, we want them to be active participants and partners in the care that we provide them. And we look at that through our entire organization, that we want willing partners, that we want to remove barriers that some of the folks have talked about today. And we found that with some of the team members for the village of Tinley Park. So we're very appreciative of removing those barriers. When we talk about healthcare and post-pandemic and what we've all lived through the past couple years, it's really important for us to get these new developments into implementation, opening, and providing that care in our communities. And we found that with the village of Tinley Park. So I'll echo the sentiments that, great staff. I want to thank you, Mayor Klotz, for your leadership, the board, for their willingness to spurn and their commitment towards economic development. And then specifically, I'd like to personally thank Dan Ritter, who's been instrumental for our development, Colby Zamatis, who did a great job working with us on the infrastructure side, and Mike Coleman. I know you've been given a shout out already, but thank you so much for kind of keeping our development on track. So thank you, everybody.
So to wrap it up, thanks for coming this morning. On behalf of the Village of Tinley Park, the Tinley Park Chamber of Commerce, the Tinley Park Economic and Commercial Commission, and the residents of Tinley Park, I wish you all a wonderful and prosperous 2023. Feel free to stay and mingle if you like, and thank you for attending.